Hello, and welcome to Module 10 of the Small Business Certified AI Strategist program. Today, we're focusing on one of the most crucial tools in our AI consulting toolkit, the AI Tool Scorecard. This isn't just a checklist or a casual opinion, it's a weighted, data driven method for evaluating each AI tool before it's implemented. If a tool scores below a certain threshold, we simply don't recommend it. It's that straightforward. Up until this point, we've introduced the basic idea of the AI tool scorecard in the last module, but now we're going to refine that concept with an in-depth example. I'll show you why it's essential, how to customize it for each business, and how to incorporate the client's brand positioning statement so the chosen AI solutions always align with their unique identity and values. Let's start by looking at an example from a company called Acme Construction. They're looking for a secure, compliant chatbot for their HR department. Their scorecard features multiple criteria like security, compliance, and integration, each weighted according to Acme Construction's priorities. Any solution that scored below a certain threshold, in Acme Construction's case, it's 80, would be disqualified from future consideration. An AI tool scorecard is more than just a spreadsheet, it's a strategic framework that helps you assess the fit of each AI opportunity. You tailor the weights to match your client's specific needs, like security or compliance. It helps you enforce standards. Only tools scoring above the agreed upon threshold, like 80, move forward. And then third, it reflects the company's brand identity. Remember, we have that brand positioning statement from the project kickoff. This ensures if, for example, the brand stands for trusted security, then security and compliance receive higher weights. So why the weighted score? Weighted scoring ensures that each of the criterion's importances is reflected numerically. If security is paramount, maybe you assign it 30% of the total score, as Acme Construction did. Meanwhile, if the business is incredibly cost sensitive, cost might carry 20%, 50%, or more. In the Acme Construction example, you can see how the security category has the highest weight, 30%, aligning with the company's brand commitment to protect sensitive HR data. Another business might prioritize cost or integration more heavily if their brand promise emphasizes affordability or seamless user experiences. Here's how you're going to tailor the scorecard. First, you need to identify key criteria. You want to talk to the client about what matters. Maybe it's user experience, vendor stability, or advanced analytics. And then you want to assign weights. Distribute 100% across these criteria, reflecting the client's unique brand stance. For example, privacy first brand might allocate 30 to 40% to security. And then you want to set a threshold. If a tool's final weighted score falls below a certain threshold, let's say 80% in this example, then you won't recommend it. This keeps the evaluation consistent and aligned with the brand's core values. So the way to actually do this is you want to take this AI tool scorecard template and you want to take the brand positioning statement that you've already had approved by your client, and you want to feed both of those documents into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT or Claude to update the AI tool scorecard. So that way that can be your first pass. Once you have that first pass, review that first pass, and then you want to send that to your client for approval. You want to make sure that you get a thumbs up or any edits from your client because they might have a little bit of a different perspective of how we score these AI tools. And we want to make sure that we get their buy-in for each one of these because this becomes kind of an SOP. Any AI tool that they end up integrating needs to go through this scorecard because this scorecard process is one of the checks that's involved in this process. So let's go through an example of the Acme Construction scorecard for a concrete illustration. So we have the actual AI tool scorecard that, let's say, we've had approved by their leadership team where security has a weight of 30%, compliance is 20%, and so on. So each of these criteria has their own weights. So what we want to do for each one of these AI opportunities, and this is an example of one, is we want to score each of the criterion from 0 to 100. So for security for this example, and we're looking at a particular AI tool that is being recommended, we score the tool's security. And if the tool recommended is an on-premise large language model that we're going to be installing at the organization's facility. This can be an open source large language model, but let's say that's what this is. To help their HR team, we want to install an on-premise large language model. So the security of this from 0 to 100, with 100 being the highest score, that would be very high because this is an on-prem model. Second is compliance. So we have a compliance score of 90 because we have control over the compliance. The performance might suffer a little bit because we might not have the GPUs necessary that the larger companies like ChatGPT, OpenAI have. Financial stability of this tool. I mean, it's us and we're having to foot the bill for this. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than using an off-the-shelf solution. The scalability, we rank that at 80 because we do have the ability to scale. Let's assume that Acme Construction has their own team of engineers or they're working with Strata 52 engineers, so we can scale this on their behalf. Support, they will have support. It won't be immediate support. They'll have to reach out to somebody like Strata 52 engineers to help with support. Integration, we will be able to integrate this tool with their existing tool set. So let's give that a higher score. And then user experience, it'll be a higher score as well. And then cost, we'll give that a higher score because we found ways to use open source models. So what we end up doing is we end up taking the individual score, take it times the weight, and then we have that sum there for each line. So security is a score of 95 times 30%. That ends up being 28.5. We do that across, and then we sum up all the criterions totals into an overall total. So you can see here that this example scores an 87.95. So in Acme Construction's case, for this particular AI tool, anything below 80 is a no-go. The final weighted score for this tool is 87.95, so the tool is recommended. But notice that security carried the heaviest weight, reflecting Acme Construction's core brand emphasis on data protection. If your client's brand strategy focuses more on cost savings, then you might want to assign a bigger score to cost and a smaller weight to something like financial stability. So first, remember, we're providing you with an example template. You're going to have to take that template that we provide you, and you'll take that template and use the brand positioning framework, and you'll prompt ChatGPT to get the business's template. So you want to have a template for the business to figure out what are the weights and what is the minimum criteria for each tool. Then you're going to take that business level AI tool scorecard that's customized to that business, and every single tool that gets recommended, we're going to apply this scorecard methodology against every single tool. So every tool we show our client is recommended because it has met our minimum threshold that we define for our AI tool scorecard. So how do you go about setting this up for each client? First, you want to collect the requirements. You want to revisit the brand positioning statement and identify any regulatory or operational needs like HIPAA compliance or any existing Microsoft stack. Then you want to develop the criteria. We need to define if they're worried about any vendor support, long-term updates, or user adoption. And then we want to assign weights, distribute those weights to 100% across these criteria, emphasizing the brand's unique priorities. And then we want to define the threshold. We need to decide if it's going to be 70 or if it's going to be 80 or even 85 as the cutoff. Make sure that the client is on board with this threshold. And then we want to evaluate tools. So for each AI tool solution, once we have the details of each of these AI solutions, we want to gather data and we want to be able to use a large language model to assign a 1 or 100 score for each of the criterion. Then we want to use that score to make our recommendation. We want to present the results transparently. If a tool exceeds the threshold, it's a strong candidate, but it's not the defining factor for us recommending that particular tool. If it doesn't meet the threshold, then we need to explain why, and we need to find an alternative solution. So as a pro tip, you can use ChatGPT or Claude to generate a template matrix. Just feed it through the criteria and weights and have it produce a structured table. This saves time in formatting and ensures a consistent framework for each new evaluation. So this brings us to the end of Module 10 and an in-depth look at the AI tool scorecard. And here's really what you need to remember from this section. First, a weighted scorecard helps us keep decision making objective. Second, these thresholds force clarity. If a tool can't meet certain standards, then you don't want to move forward. And third is that customization is key for each one of your clients. So you want to make sure you align the weights with the client's brand identity and their strategic priorities. And then fourth, this example from Acme Construction, it highlights how a well structured scorecard can help a business confidently adopt AI solutions. Now, in our next module, we'll pull these evaluations into a holistic roadmap, tying each recommended tool into timelines, budget, and a broader business objective. I look forward to guiding you there. And as always, thanks for joining me.